Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Part of your business is to take good care of yourself. You were born to be alive. In this segment, we're going to tell you about how you can stay alive and stay safe. Cathy Steinberg, she's a personal safety expert. I want to encourage you to check her out at CathySteinberg.com. And delighted to have you on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Kevin.
Big events up there in Cleveland, Ohio, reminded us with those three young ladies being found after 10 years, and two of them were in an abduction. Apparently, there's another one that is yet to be located or something. I don't know. The news is always dicey on this. But the bottom line is that they were abducted. They were held hostage for a decade and a decade plus. And, it really reminds us how imperative it is we take care of ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing that we need to be aware of, and women need to be more aware of, is that you really need to pay attention to your surroundings. We need to educate our young girls and our kids what to do if they are ever caught in an emergency situation.
Yes. And how long have you been doing this? How long have you been involved in this?
Well, I've been practicing martial arts and in law enforcement for several years. I got my black belt in 1989, and I'm not dating myself there, but I've been doing this for quite some time, and I decided to write the book, The Fabulous Girl's Guide to Being Fearless, to help educate young girls. I worked in a maximum security prison for men, and for many years I interviewed rapists, kidnappers, murderers, because I was obsessed with finding out why it was that they picked their victims and what clues I could take out from our conversations and our interviews, how to keep women safe and keep them away from being victims of crimes themselves.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. And so you talked with, and in fact, I'm seeing also that you worked with some women criminals as well, rather well-known, infamous women criminals.
Yes. I worked at a death row. What I did was I went from a maximum security male prison. I went to a criminally insane mental hospital because I wanted to see what people who are not well, who are mentally disturbed, what ticks them off, and if I could identify how to pick them out in a crowd before they tick off and do something crazy and hurt people. And then I went over to a death row prison for women because I wanted to see why it was that women committed the crimes that they did, in order to figure out a cycle and how I could break it and how I can inform people and educate people. One of my notable charges was Eileen Wuornos, who was the first female serial killer. She was the inspiration for the movie Monster with Charlize Theron. It's a very, very gripping story.
Yes, it's an incredible story.
And the thing is that it all started being a victim of a crime herself when she was a child. And it's not an excuse for what she did, but the cycle starts somewhere. And if we can help educate people on how to keep their children safe, how to care more about themselves, how to identify a problem before it becomes their problem, we can change so many things happening nowadays. It can be changed, and we can avoid being victims.
And you also worked with the infamous Black Widow. Was her story similar?
Her story was similar, yeah. She killed her son and her husband. And again, hers was just psychopathic. She was a very narcissistic, very, very cruel woman, and she did her because she was just evil. There's no other. I'm not going to even pretend to get around that one. She was. Yeah,
I like it too when people just bold-faced call these people evil rather than try to come up with pure psychological motives for these people. You know what? There's just we got to come to grip with the reality that there are just wicked people out there.
Absolutely, but you can avoid it, and you can keep yourself safe from being a victim of a crime.
So let's talk about that. Let's get to the practicalities of that. What are some things that women typically do that make them vulnerable but don't realize it? How about that, Kristen?
What I do is I identify what the 4 levels of alert are, and the 4 levels of alert are women walk around, and we all do it in what's called white mode. And this is where the criminals are looking for their victims, because when you are in white alert mode, you are busy on your cell phone, on your smartphone. You've got, you're oblivious to everything that's going on around you. You've got your earphones in your ears, the music is blasting. You're not paying attention to what is happening, and you're the perfect victim for them. Because by the time you realize something's amiss, it's too late for you to make that split-second decision to be able to get away or save yourself or react before the criminals got their hands on you.
Okay.
And then,
so the reality is there is no such thing as multitasking. Usually you're doing the one thing you're thinking about at that time. And so, when you're walking, when you're out and about, you need to be really cognizant of what's happening around you.
absolutely. What I tell women is you got to be on pink alert. Pink alert is you're using all your senses. You're scanning your surroundings. You've got your ears open. You can hear when someone's coming up behind you. And it's not being paranoid. It's just being vigilant, alert, aware. You've got your intuition and your wonderful intuition that makes the little hair on the back of your neck stand up when something's not amiss. That's when you've got to listen and you've got to pay attention to your senses. When they're telling you something's wrong, just get away from the situation. And a lot of times you can avoid being caught because these guys do not want to be caught. And so when you are alert and aware and you can identify and you can scream and you can fight back or run, then chances are they might get caught, and they don't want to do that. So they're going to keep walking and go to the next person that's not paying attention that they can overwhelm.
Yeah, it's really analogous to people who break into cars. Very few break-ins have actual smashing of windshields. There's so many. The vast majority of them are people who keep checking doors till they find one that's open. I mean, that's the vast majority of those. They're looking for the path of least resistance. The more aware you are, the more potential there is of you being resistant.
Right, and that's why these kidnappers focus on teens and children, because they're the path of least resistance, because they can manipulate them, because they can coerce them into going with them without a fight. And that's the problem, and this is what's happened with these girls. He convinced them to go without a fight. And then he was able, these men are pedophiles, and they're looking for their targets. And we need to educate our children on how not to be those targets, and that it's okay for them to scream. It's okay for them to fight and kick and never go with a stranger. Mm-hmm. We've got to teach them safety words. As a parent, we need to tell our kids, hey, listen, if I'm going to send somebody to pick you up, they're going to use the word ballet. And when they say ballet, you know that it's okay because we told them to pick you up, and that's your safety word with your kid. Your kid knows now, if it's a stranger, unless that person knows that safety word that you and your parents talked about, then you are not going with that person. It's final.
No question about it. Yep. And so people have got to notice. And so tell me some of the things that you're suggesting people do to make sure that they're better aware, better prepared when something does go awry.
Well, when it does go awry, I tell them what you need to do is fight back. In the case of this kidnapping, for instance, you are going to be fighting and you don't stop fighting. You don't get in that car, but if you happen to get in that car and there's no way for you to get around it, they've overpowered you and put you in, the only thing you're going to be thinking about is how to escape. You never trust them. They are never going to say the truth to you. And you are just going to keep on trying to escape until you get away. And you're going to use your wit, and you're going to use your smarts, and you're going to sit there and you're going to be strategizing. If you're taken to a location, you're tied up, you're going to continually be strategizing how you're going to get away, how to get away. Never give up on yourself. I tell them, never, ever give up on yourself. You never do it. When this man, Cooey, kidnapped Jessica Lunsford, mm-hmm. He literally took her 100 yards away from her house in a trailer where he convinced her, he beat her and raped her, and that's how they control the kids. After they beat them, they rape them and dehumanize them, and then they control them. So what he did was, after the next morning, he had to go to work. He made her get in the closet. She wasn't tied up. He convinced her to stay in that closet by threats, and he took off for an extended period of time, and he came back, and she was still there waiting. We need to teach our kids that it's okay. You're not going to harm, you're not going to harm your parents, that it's okay for them to run and fight back no matter what he's threatening you with. You need to run. And if he tells you that it's okay, that he's going to take you home, just wait here. It's a lie. You need to run anyways. Wait for him to leave and run.
Yeah,
because he's
gotta run. There. Yeah. Hey, I am so sorry. We are running out of time. I really appreciate your time, though, and I think we need to make our young women, really everyone needs to be more cognizant, but women are a very, very important target to these type of personalities. We just got to be cognizant of this reality. And so I encourage people to learn more about this. Cathy Steinberg, great guest. Cathy, Cathy Steinberg, Steinberg.com. Check out out this book, The Fabulous Girl's Guide to Being Fearless. Check it out and read it and think about your daughters. Think about your wife as you read this, and talk about coming up with plans to battle these very things. Cathy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for spreading the message.
You bet. All right. When we come back, more for you. We want to remind you best content here can be found over there at priceofbusiness.com. You're listening to The Price of Business.